What's going on, everybody? Welcome to On3 Sports. I'm your host, Nick Kosko. With me today is a very special guest, Merril Hoge, former NFL analyst with ESPN, of course, a former Pittsburgh Steelers running back. And Merril, I always appreciate your knowledge when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to breaking things down, giving your takes. I've always loved them for years, and I'm glad you're with me here today.
Nick, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So what brings you here today? I know you have some tailgating tips to us right before we get into the football, the actual stuff on the field. Week one, I think people need to know what your tailgating tips are.
Yeah, we're going to help. We're going to set the stage for a great tailgate or home gate. And so it's going to start with the TV, the LG OLED B4 TV. It goes up to 83 inches. This one right back here is 65 inches. Now, I love the visual of it because that says everything. But why the picture is so good, there's 8 million self-lit pixels out is why the picture is so clear. So that makes it great when you're outside and the sun's bright. You can still see it, even though it's not an outdoor TV, but it looks awesome outside. And then the sound better be good. Dolby sound, incredible. You'll love this. Up to $1,400 off select sizes too. Some's got to power the whole thing. This Jackery, I thought it was a cooler actually, but for your tailgate and homemade needs, the power is important. And this Jackery 1000 V2 is critical. It's portable, powerful. It'll do the TV, your grill, your phone, everything that you could possibly imagine. And it's not going to fade on you if you go into overtime. It's got the solar panel just in case you need it. Use this code, HOMEGATING, at Jackery.com, $200 off the regular price. So this is a must get because you got to trust the power. And then you got to eat. This right here is new, Sonic's Smash Burger. The Smasher is incredible. Premium cheeseburger, Sonic, $7. Hand smashed, made to order, Angus beef. I tell people it's much easier to buy a beautiful hamburger like that, looks like this, than to make it. So go buy them. They're only $7. And then the Cricut Joy Extra DIY smart cutting machine. That's this boy right here. It cuts up to 50 materials, vinyl, cardstock, iron-ons, compact. You can see how small it is. You don't need a big room for it. But it's a game changer. It made this shirt. It does logos, players, decals, koozies, coasters. It's done everything here that you see. So you can have a lot of fun with everybody at the tailgate party. Make your own merch. Bring it to the party. Put this all together. You have a great time just before the game.
All right, I love it. And now we'll get into the football right here. And I think, Merril, we have nowhere else to start but, of course, the two-time defending Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. It just seems like the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I know the Ravens were basically maybe a shoe size away from winning that football game. But what was your biggest takeaway from Kansas City on the NFL's opening game?
Well, you kind of said it. They haven't lost anything. What do a championship, a team like that need? You know, you need something that you're striving for. Okay, that's why I think this three-peat thing gives them an advantage because nobody's ever done it. And just hearing that, like if you hear that, okay, all your 2 Super Bowls, it puts it in perspective. We get a chance to do something that's never been done. Just they wanted to repeat, just so they've been a part of the people that have repeated. Now you get a chance to separate yourself. And I've known Andy Reid. I've known Andy Reid for years. I mean, Andy Reid, and I knew so before I got into the National Football League when he was at BYU. And he does a great job with that, with his team. And listen, they have all kinds of phases. They're a good enough team to win a championship. You know, can they keep him on that track from a mental perspective? And I think that will help Andy do that. I think they have as good a chance to repeat as we've probably ever seen in the history of football.
Switching over to the NFC, Dak Prescott, you know he makes headlines every single season. Is he going to get paid? Is he not going to get paid? Well, he just got paid, led the Dallas Cowboys to a season-opening win over the Cleveland Browns. But ultimately, there's a debate of whether he's actually worth it. Is he a top 5? Is he a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I was curious on what you've evaluated based on the film, what you've seen for years with Dak, and is this finally the year? I feel like we ask this every year. Is this finally the year where he can take him to a deeper playoff run and potentially be that Super Bowl winning quarterback based on what they're paying him?
Yeah. Well, listen, expectations are always dangerous. I actually do like Dak Prescott. I've always liked Dak Prescott. The San Francisco game that he played a year ago there was some things in Dak that I was actually a little surprised. I didn't think you would see. But let me back up for just a second. Teams win championships. Dak Prescott is not going to win a Super Bowl for the Dallas Cowboys. Is he going to be a critical opponent? Yes, but they have all of the kinds of phases that they have to be a good team in order to win a championship. And I think there's just some teams that are a little better than them right now. It's week 2, so this can all change clearly. I think San Francisco's a better team. I think Detroit is a better team. Those are the teams they're going to have to beat in order to get to play the Super Bowl, and then you're going to run into a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they good that good right now? No, not from a team perspective. Do I think Dak is good enough at that position to get him there? I actually do. I've liked Dak from the day he got into the league and watching him and actually seeing his overall development. People that say, well, he's not, get rid of him. Well, who are you going to replace him with? I mean, who are you going to replace him? You're going to get rid of people. You always got to have somebody you're going to replace with. You better be thinking like that. And, there's a lot of people who would like a Dak Prescott to play for them at quarterback. So I think the Cowboys have a really good team to build on, but they have different phases that they're going to have to grow in to beat the other teams I just mentioned.
Merril Hoge with me right here on On3 Sports. A couple more for you, Merril. Again, I appreciate your time. When you look at the NFC, people like to talk about Dallas and Dak Prescott, but you already alluded to the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions, two of the Final Four teams in last year's NFL playoffs. And obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles are still looming, and who knows who's going to pop up this year in the NFC. But when you look at those big three that I just mentioned, because it seems like those are the other contenders in the conference, is it still San Francisco and everybody else, or do teams like Detroit and Philadelphia, maybe somebody else, are they sneaking back up on the 49ers this year in 2024?
Yeah, well, I think Detroit's better as a team right now. I think they're better than they were last year. I think if there was ever an example of they mean business, is the drive that they put together in overtime. That right there is a championship. We're not messing around. We're here to play, and we're here to win a championship. Now, another team that you mentioned there, they meant the Super Bowl, even though they lost, and then they kind of eroded. They realized why they eroded, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost a foundation of the thing that got them there, and that was the run on the football. There's two things I tell fans all the time. The most important aspect in the NFL, if you're going to win consistently, is you've got to control the tempo. Okay, so when you control the tempo, that means you dictate to that defense, you help your defense, and as an offense, I can set things up for how I want to play. When you run the football, that's what you do. Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles lost that. That's what got them to the Super Bowl. Well, they've obviously getting Saquon Barkley and being recommitted to that, reset that team, and is going to help that team to get back to where they were a couple of years ago. So I think that they're a team that you better watch out for, that understands what you got to do to win in this league consistently. And then the turnover battle was the other aspect of that. You win those two things, man, you got a chance to win on Sunday. When you cannot do those two things, it's an arduous journey. You have to do those things. And then the phases that you have from that helps you be an elite team. But if you can't do the two things that I just mentioned, it's very hard to win consistently in the NFL.
I'll leave you here with this one, Merril. And again, everyone has their week one overreactions or their underreactions from week one, as you just mentioned before. It's only week two, so who knows how these teams are going to evolve over the course of the next couple of months. But if you had to pick it right now, based on what you saw week one and preseason expectations, I mean, do you believe Kansas City is going to three-peat? And ultimately, who is your Super Bowl matchup and champion?
Yeah, I think they're as good a team. They played as good as anybody or better than anybody in the AFC and the NFC. The other team, I mentioned them, Detroit. I think Detroit, if you took week one, go there. To your point, like I played on a team in 1989 where we lost 50-0 week one, and then we rallied and we got beat 41-10 the next week. Okay, and we made the playoffs, and we were a step away from going to the Super Bowl at the end of the year. So, the first 2 weeks could be an absolute mess, and you can rebuild and resurrect your season. You can look like you're going to go to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, and next thing you know, you're 8-8 back in the day, but you're 8-9 or 9-8, and you're not making the playoffs. So, but just based on the week one, and listen, the strength of those two teams, they've been good for a long time. Detroit's been building. Kansas City's already been there, so I don't think they erode, but they sure look good.
Merril Hoge with me right here on On3 Sports. Merril, I really appreciate your insight. I always have, and hope to talk to you again in the future. And maybe we'll circle back around with that Kansas City and Detroit Lions matchup in the Super Bowl.
Love to. Thanks, Nick.